All right, go. Go. That's tomorrow. That is it. That's tomorrow. That is it for us today. Leave you with a. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. That's tomorrow. That is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
Fireside Chats.
What is up, everybody? It is your boy Lou Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, live with you on a Tuesday. Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito, live on Facebook, across all platforms, twitch.tv/2am Burrito. If you want to follow us there, give us a follow. youtube.com/2am Burrito, where you can catch all my old movies, content, etc. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So just go on down and give us a follow or a like on YouTube, as well as facebook.com/2am Burrito. Make sure you like the page, get your notification bell on so that you can be notified when we are going live. Got the dogs in the background as per usual. And today we're going to be talking about film festivals, about the process of for actors finding the right acting teacher to help you progress in your career, and about the film and festival industry specifically. A couple of the topics that I've been talking about recently have been about my issues, love-hate relationship with certain film festivals. Mostly because I know what it takes to make a film festival work on a yearly basis. So I've always said that festivals that have monthly or quarterly are sometimes a little suspect because of the fact that it is very hard to do a festival right once a year. So you can imagine how hard it would be to do 4 times a year. Now, I've tried to keep my mind open about this because recently, Terry Ross from Acting Professionally, she's a well-established filmmaker, director. She's got tons of legit accolades in the film world. Awards she works with and hires and pays some of the people that I've worked with, like longtime collaborator Oscar Velasquez. We had Edna Longoria, who's a composer who's worked on several of her films. So she's definitely got a legit resume as both a filmmaker, as both an acting teacher, and as a film professional. And then there's the festivals locally that are the cream of the crop, like your San Diego International Film Festival. Why is that the top-rated film festival in San Diego? Because major motion pictures have opened there. This is where you're going to get A-list celebrities. This is the cream of the crop in terms of the film festival that San Diego is the shining diamond of. Beneath that, I would put San Diego Latino Film Festival. It's a niche festival, but it's been around for 28 years. And it started off with the idea of promoting Mexican and Latin films, Latinx films. So I think that would be the second most important festival in San Diego. Then I would say the Horrible Imaginings Film Festival. It's been rated gold, Film Freeway for many, many years. Miguel takes a lot of care to curate that festival. You know, I know that it goes into physical pain when he has to reject a film. And then after that, you would have, I would say, maybe San Diego Film Week, which is, they call it like the San Diego Film Prom. It is part of the San Diego Film Consortium. It's an interesting group for filmmakers, although my thought has always been that it doesn't necessarily promote the most professional of attitudes, because it's almost a little too familiar. And then you have like the 48, and then you have all these other niche festivals: the Asian American Film Festival, the Jewish Film Festival, the Italian American Film Festival, African American Film Festival, the 5-Minute Film Festival, the One Take Film Festival. A lot of these based in and out of San Diego. So as soon as Terry Ross said that she was going to start another film festival, my initial concern, my initial thought was, and I've seen this posted on several on chats and stuff and posts, and San Diego need another film festival? Well, maybe. If they are legit and they're treating filmmakers properly, as in, what do I think makes a film festival something that's worth your money? If you're a filmmaker and you have an indie film, unless you have a budget of, let's say, $1,200, $1,500, and you've done the right thing and you've paid for a makeup artist and you paid for a sound guy and you paid your cinematographer, and maybe you fed your actors well at least, and you got maybe $200 or $300 left that you can spend, and you say, I'm going to pick a couple of key festivals to enter my film into, what do you expect? What is a good return on your investment for spending $30, $40, $50, $75 to enter one of your films for consideration? Is the festival going to watch your entire movie? Now, I've said it clearly. If a festival says we will only watch 50% of your movie, and if at that 50% mark we don't think it's going to fit, we're just going to stop watching it. I don't think that's right. Or if you're going to do that, and I think you should let filmmakers know ahead of time, we don't necessarily want to. Now, the excuse that I've been given is all film festivals do this. And that's not a valid excuse for me, because just because, your friends do meth doesn't mean you should do meth, right? What else do you expect? That they review your film, that they get back to you in a timely process, that they give you laurels, that you have a good experience as a filmmaker. One of the issues I had with the San Diego International Film Festivals that I talked to Dwayne and Robin from the 48 last week on was, if you're part of the best of 48, you get to screen at San Diego International Film Festival. They've had an arrangement for several years, and a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we went, we felt like we got treated like second-class citizens because we were part of the 48 and not a direct selection of the San Diego International Film Festival. Now, I told this to Dwayne and Robin when I talked to them live, and they said they had no idea. They thought we would get a full festival pass, but that was not the case. We got a very basic festival pass where we could go see movies for free, but you couldn't go to any of the other events. You couldn't hang out in the VIP rooms with the other filmmakers, which is part of the reason film festivals are so exciting, is because you get to showcase your film and you get to meet people that are also filmmakers. I read a post the other day that they said there's billions of people walking the earth right now who have zero desire to write or make movies. So if you're somebody who walks around with that feeling that I want to write and make movies, then there's a reason that you have that. And every mistake that a filmmaker or a director or writer could make, I have made them twice. Over the last 10 years, I've made tons of mistakes. And I've been caught up in the laurels for cash, that I call it laurels for cash, thing, where it's like a monthly film festival. I'd submitted to this Miami International November Film Festival for like 2016, and I got accepted. And I proudly showed those laurels. But in the end, if you have the ability to get legit laurels from legit festivals, you have to do your research as to how the festivals are run, what their criteria is, look into how long they've been around, and make sure it's not a money grab. It used to be easier, because you could say, like, if it was only an online only festival, they didn't have any screenings and stuff like that, it was a monthly, blah, blah, blah. You could sort of, suss those out. But recently, due to the pandemic and COVID, 99% of these festivals have moved to a mostly remote, virtual situation. So that means that it's a little harder to figure out what's legit and what's that. So those were my takes. And so when Terry Ross said, "Hey, I'm going to do the San Diego Movie Awards," and a lot of people were like, "Well, do we need another festival? How's this different? How's this that?" And my initial thought was, a quarterly film festival. All right. I talked to her a little bit, and then I said, "You know what? I'm going to keep an open mind." All right. And since I know Terry and I know kind of reached out to her and I was like, listen, I'm feeling a certain kind of way, which I don't necessarily always use that term. Would you be open to coming on and talking about that? And it's like, it's not going to be no cream puff interview. It's nothing like that. We've talked before. She's a big girl. She can handle it. And I do want to talk to her in general about the film festival industry, her festival, why she decided to do that. So long story short, that's the reason that we're live tonight. And I want to welcome our guest from acting professionally, multi-award recipient of various types of film festivals, Terry Ross. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here, Louis.
Sorry.
That was a wonderful introduction, really, to all the thoughts and concerns that you have about festivals. So I'm excited to talk about them.
No, and like I said, I appreciate when somebody is, like I said, people have an open. There's people out there, that feel a certain type of way about my takes on things, and they have an open door to come talk to me about it, but they decide not to. So when somebody quote unquote wants to smoke or is open to talking about it, like you are, like for example, I had some takes on COVID and movie sets, and I was pretty adamant about it. And George Jack, who was filming the series, says, "Hey, I'll come on and defend myself." So I was like, cool, I respect that. I respect that you are open to coming and talk about. So let's jump right into it, Terry. Why now? Why does San Diego need another film festival? And how long has this been sort of germinating in your mind that about sort of starting a new type of film festival?
All right, so we're going to go back a few years. I've actually wanted to do a film festival for over 10 years. And initially, I wanted to do it here in Julian because I thought this is perfect, right? Small town. Like so many other film festivals, like Idlewild, etc. But Julian is so, beautiful in nature. Let's go ahead and do environmental film festival and nature film festival. So I got a couple of people to kind of get on board with me. We went to the Wild and Scenic Film Festival in Nevada City and got some great ideas about how to do it, and we did it. It ended up being an annual fundraiser for the Vulcan Mountain Foundation. So we did it as part of a 501c3. And I learned so much, Louis, so much, right? You talk about mistakes in filmmaking, which God knows I've made. And we learned year by year. It only went on for 4 years. We started out too big. And as we scaled down, it got better. But my hope was to bring people to Julian for more than apple pie and snow, right? But we just couldn't get people to come up the hill. And it's, as you said, it's so much work to do the festival. And, we had the same 100 people that were so enthusiastic and came, but after 4 years, it was like, this is, too much work. And it was just too much work. I was sad to see it go. I loved doing it. I loved making the filmmakers. I loved seeing, I never had been really a fan of documentaries, and this just opened my eyes to a whole new world. And they were informative and pretty wonderful. So long story short, jump ahead about 4 years. It's about how long it takes to get over a broken relationship, right? Which was with the film festival. So I'm sitting at home as we all are in quarantine, and working with John Freeman, the cinematographer and editor of A Castle in Umbria. And once that was finished and we started submitting to festivals, and how much it meant actually to have the film recognized. And I know some of the awards we got were those kind of festivals you're talking about, but it was just really gratifying. And I thought, I could do this. I'm home. I'm binging on other stuff. Why don't I do something positive and productive and watch films? And so that's where the impetus came from, and I thought a lot about where I was going to have it. I mean, at first I thought, well, maybe I'll just do it in Julian, but I thought about the filmmakers, and if we're doing an international film festival, and I don't know where people are coming, coming from, probably a lot more exciting for them to come to San Diego than to come to Julian, if they're gonna do the travel. And we're making it international, so I mean, I don't really know if that's different than anybody else's festival here, but this is for indie films. It's not. The San Diego International Film Festival's gotten really too big for most indie films, right?
Right.
And
although they have a shorts festival now that's part of their festival as well.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good thing. I find, I mean, I didn't want to do a monthly, which those are really sort of the, kind of going after the awards kind of things. And speaking of which, it's really funny, on my Instagram yesterday, I get this message that says, submit your submit now, you'll get your laurels tomorrow and your awards. I mean, it was like, so upfront about what they were doing. I was like, my God.
But it's very easy as a filmmaker to sort of fall into those traps, because you're starting off and really all to put those laurels on your poster. You want to be able to brag about it. You want some sort of recognition. But there are festivals where it's like silver level. You paid $55 an entry and you get a silver award no matter what. If you paid $100, you get the gold award. If you pay $200, you're part of the platinum club, So there is, you do agree that there is this industry out there.
Totally there is. And this is, interesting and hopefully helpful to other filmmakers who are submitting. I started getting a lot of solicitations on my Castle and Umbria page, people asking me to submit to their festival. And I mentioned that to Tom Mulligan, who you probably know as an actor. He's got The Witching Hour, and he went through what a lot of us go through. He submitted to 25 festivals and didn't get accepted, and then kind of snowballed and got a lot. But he said not one of the festivals that solicited him took their film. So it's like they're going out there, and we've been very fortunate with the Castle and Umbria. The only festival that we didn't get into is the one, Lonely Wolf, who just kept reaching out, and finally I submitted, and that was the one we didn't get into. So I say, buyer beware, right? I think it's much more effective if you're the filmmaker, and like you said, and you go looking,
Right. Well, here's my follow-up question to that, Terry, because you've reached, Idlewild, Los Angeles, I think Chicago, or other festivals that I know you've gotten into. Edna, who's watching, hey Edna, thank you for stopping by. Edna Longoria, Oscars won awards. She's won awards. So you've gotten what we would call more prestigious awards, but then there's also these other that are kind of very kind of easy, like low-hanging fruit awards. So as somebody who I see that is established as a professional filmmaker, why continue to submit to some of these, like, is it just to keep the momentum going? Is it because you just want more laurels on the project, or what's your thought process on that?
So when we first started submitting Carving a Life, kind of like Witching, we did a lot of submission. We got into maybe 15% of the festivals that we submitted to. So
it's like your safety school almost, right? Like because the first thing I search for when I'm on Film Freeway and I have a new movie is festivals with a free entry, or like a lower entry, or ones that are offering discounts. So it's almost like, okay, these are the safety schools. I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to get my movie into some of these, and then, even though I have $300, Sundance is $75. I have no shot of getting into Sundance, but I'm still going to submit because I want to submit into Sundance. I want somebody at Sundance to watch my movie, and then, okay, there's the local festival, San Diego Latino. Okay, I qualify. I'm going to try to get in, this and that, I guess that's sort of where my response would come from on that.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, so what I started doing was only submitting a Castle and Umbria to festivals I'd already gotten one, either with Sweet Taste of Souls or Last Resort or Carving a Life or whatever. And I think it's a little bit like, like anything, it's who you know, right? If they've already let you into their club, at least they're going to look at your film. So it's that ended up being working well for us, and I think it would for anybody. If a festival has already recognized you as a filmmaker, right, and wants to see your film, they will at least look at your film.
Right.
So that kind of was what I was doing, and Laurels, I think, do a lot of things. I mean, first of all, they're, they give you some satisfaction as the filmmaker, or
validation,
some validation. But they also do make a difference in terms of distribution, in terms of if you get onto a streaming channel, if somebody's going to watch it. It's such a crazy business now, but it's a little bit like for an actress, it depends on how many followers they have, whether or not they're going to take her or somebody else, right, into a show. And so, which I don't think is fair at all, but they could be helpful. They can be helpful if you want people to see your film. They can also be just encouragement to keep doing it, to go back and keep making the film. So maybe overall it's not the best film, but something is great about it. The cinematography is great about it, or the score is, or there's a great actor, or there's ensemble acting, or there's, great editing or whatever. So that's also why it's important to me to put in a whole, the spectrum of what we're going to look at in a film. And so something's working, something's working. And I also just want to address, we watch everything. There's no way we're doing, and I've heard in festivals that in a short, it's 10 minutes, and in a feature, maybe you get 20. And if it doesn't keep your interest, whatever. But
well, yeah, and I've sat in, and I was like, okay, I'm going to participate, and I sat through a session, and they're watching one of my movies, and I'm not allowed to say anything, and I happened, and my movie was set up that there was an actress that had an incredible scene at the end of the movie that was barely featured at the beginning of the movie, and we get to the 10-minute mark in my movie, and somebody was like, all right, XYZ movie, do you guys want to keep watching? No. Boom. All right. So no, they write it off. And then they say, and this is the part that got me, we don't have enough nominations to have a best supporting female actor category. And I said, well, you didn't watch the back end of so many movies. How do you know that? So again, if you're watching everything, then that's one major point that I'm giving you right there. Because I feel if you're charging people $75 to submit a movie that they made 8 years ago, or if you're submitting, charging somebody $40 to submit a music video, or $60 to submit, their movie on a late deadline, Sundance is $80. So if you're going to put yourself in that price range, then take that money and pay somebody, or find people that are passionate about films and have them watch full movies. When I signed up for judging, I said, I'm down to watch. One of the best things that I like about the San Diego Latino Film Festival, being involved with it last year, was I got to watch a lot of movies. So there's people that love watching movies that'll sit through it. And I think the only caveat to that would be, if 5-10 minutes in, the movie is obscene, you automatically know that it's something you wouldn't show at your festival because of X, Y, and Z. It's a black and white festival, and somebody's showing you something that's multicolors, like stuff like that. Those are, I would say, reasons. But if it's a movie, it's there, and you're just gonna decide halfway through that you're bailing. I just feel that it's a little bit wrong to treat your community and to treat filmmakers like that. And the fact that other festivals do it, in my opinion, is not a good enough reason to say no. Sorry, side rant over.
No, I agree, and I'm happy to say that thus far, I've wanted to watch all of them. You know, I wanted to watch all of them. So I hope that continues to be true. So,
All right, so you try the festival in the back. You know, you have this idea running into your head, and then you decide that you want something that gives you at least a yearly chance to have an event live in person, right? Why is that so important?
well, um, what I love about going to a film festival is exactly what you said. It's being around other filmmakers, and it's networking, and it's seeing their work, and it's that energy that's created. One of the things I learned doing the Julian Film Festivals, we started big. We were 3 days, and what it ended up, and actually we were in 2 venues, and it split the audience. So one of the things that I think a lot of filmmakers run into, and I've run into it, even in Idlewild, where we had like 13 nominations and we won two awards, and we were in a great time slot, and we were in the theater itself. There were only like 5 people in the audience, and that's really disappointing. You know, I mean, it's nice to get the nominations, but you want people to watch your film.
Or they say, all right, everybody from the film come up to the front, and 99% of the audience comes up to the front of the theater.
Right, right. So my thought is we're going to do a 1-day festival, and I want those seats packed. And if that means I'm not even charging anybody for the seats, right? But I want people to know their films are being seen. The ones that, myself and about 12 judges have decided we should, bring forward as the best films that we've had over the course of the year. Now, Louis, I may be open to just doing once a year, but this is during the pandemic. It just seems like, to give more opportunity and shorter periods of time for submission, and it's also not, in all honesty, not quite so daunting to think of all the submissions that are going to come in the course of that. So
I think it straddles like a line. It straddles a line between, like I said, because the one thing San Diego doesn't have is a quarterly festival. Like Miami, San Antonio. There's a lot of cities that have monthly festival. Like I said, one of the ones that I but that I entered a long time ago was the Miami International Film Festival. They have a monthly thing. So if it's hard to do a yearly and a monthly just comes off as a straight money grab, then the quarterly just sort of has a little bit like I said, it kind of made me feel a little bit there. But I just think that if you are putting the resources behind it and you have a team that can crank it out in terms of being fair to filmmakers and the people are putting in the work behind the scenes, then I really can't say anything about it if you're open to at least kind of answering those questions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So how did you decide on San Diego Movie Awards, and did you look at the landscape of other film festivals locally to sort of pick your spot, pick your slot, figure out the time of the year when this would be more efficient for you?
Yeah, I think what we're offering is different than any of the other film festivals in San Diego. I mean, San Diego Film Week focuses more on San Diego films, and it's for a whole week, and
it's a film prom.
It's more for yeah. And then, like I said, the San Diego International Film Festivals seemed like it got too big, really, for and I gotta say, I just also felt like the San Diego International Film Festival wasn't San Diego filmmaker friendly.
It's La Jolla elitist.
Yeah. So there's that.
they know from whence their bread is buttered, to so to speak. They understand that there's a lot of rich people in La Jolla, and they're the ones that are gonna kind of drive the parties and pay $270 to watch a movie at a drive-through and stuff like that. And yeah, I do agree that they're a little bit, they're the ones that bring the A-listers out, but it's also like a little bit too big for us locals.
Yeah, and then like you said, there's niche film festivals that are wonderful, and but this is not that. So it's like a I mean, Oceanside and all of those. I mean, there's also Fallbrook, and I mean, there's so many film festivals.
Escondido, yeah. I wanted, honestly, when we did, because you guys are using MOPA. We did an event at MOPA called the Night of 1,000 Burritos, and for a while, I was considering turning that into like a comedy film festival, because I don't think there's really a comedy driven.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So so this is also a learning exercise for me, because one of the things that I eventually would like to do is have like a South Bay gear, like a Chula Vista South Bay Natural City based Night of 1,000 Burritos type comedy festival eventually.
I think it'd be fun. I love that.
So here I am complaining about another film festival, and I'm like, but I have an idea for one.
Well, Comic-Con had that film festival, right? But
yeah, Comic-Con has a film festival. There's a 5-minute. There's literally a dozen recognizable film festival, and probably another 10 that are just underneath the surface.
Yeah. So my vision is that it's just very, very friendly to filmmakers. Right. I mean, it's nice to have big award ceremonies and stuff like that, but that, that's not why we do it.
Right. Absolutely. All right. We're checking in with Terry Ross from Acting Professionally. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in. Just a reminder that if you guys are coming to the stream new, I do stream live at least once a week, usually between Tuesdays and Thursdays, interviews with interesting people such as Terry from all walks of life. So make sure that if you are watching, you leave us a follow at facebook.com/2mburrito. Twitch, I do gaming there. And also we post our interviews there, twitch.tv/2mburrito, and also youtube.com/2mburrito. Thank you for stopping by, Oscar Velasquez, who you've worked with several times, and Oscar Velasquez. And this is one of the, I'll probably talk to you about this after the stream, but we did a documentary about Oscar, a 5-minute documentary that is going to be in the short documentary program at this year's San Diego Latino Film Festival.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
It's called Oscar Story. And I'm going to pull up the poster here in a little bit, and I'll show it later. But thank you for stopping by, Oscar. David Fernandez stopping by. Hey, how you doing today, Mr. Fernandez? Thank you for stopping by. Again, Edgar stopping by. Frank Papia stopping by, sending love to Terry. David Dawson coming in, saying hi to Terry. Thanks for stopping by, David. And David says there's space for all of them. It's up for filmmakers to decide what they're willing to pay for. Right. Okay. So the filmmakers have a limited budget. The history of film festivals is, if you look at the ones that have been established from back in the day when we were still sending in tapes and VHSs and DVDs, etc., it was a very convoluted way to get your films in. You had to literally write people letters, email them, call them. You'd have to find out. Then you'd have to grab a box, make a copy of your movie, send them in.
Gosh.
Then you had to make like a DCP or a bunch of stuff. Then Without a Box happened. Without a Box came out the gate hot. It was the new thing for filmmakers. Everybody had a Without a Box account. It was like, oh, we're using this new thing, Without a Box. You can submit digitally, blah, blah, blah. Then Without a Box started getting a little too greedy. They started asking people to buy like $500 worth of credits, and then using those credits to enter movie. Newcomer came on the scene, Film Freeway. Film Freeway showed up and destroyed Without a Box. So for a long time we had nothing. Then we had Without a Box. Then Without a Box had a competitor. So much to the point that Without a Box, who was owned by IMDb.
Wow.
Without a Box was owned by IMDb. And Film Freeway came in so hot that Without a Box had to shut down. Now Film Freeway is far and away the standard for film festivals to operate. But they have started to make a couple of the mistakes that Without a Box used to make. And IMDb is Amazon, but IMDb owned Without a Box. Or Amazon, Amazon owned Without a Box.
Louis, what do you see Film Freeway doing?
Okay, I think that they may be I think that if they are allowing filmmakers or festivals to pay to receive like a gold status, which is usually reserved for festivals that have been rated for several years, kind of like Angie's List asks people to pay to give them better recommendation, I think that's wrong. And I do believe that if Film Freeway is going to be the overwhelming where the majority of film comes in, then they have to have ethical standards about how festivals are rated, because there's festivals like Horrible Imaginings that are rated gold because of the fact that they have incredible amounts of positive feedback from people that have submitted their films. So I think that if they start to anything that's a pay for play, where it is, we'll feature your festival more if you do this or pay or et cetera, et cetera. I think all of those things sort of can make it so that people trust it a little bit less. Right now, they're the undisputed king. So basically, they're in a position where they can do whatever they want and get away with it. But as somebody who sees the back end of the festival, how do you feel about that?
I may be misunderstanding, because like we have gold on ours, but what that means is that the submissions cost less for the filmmakers.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a separate kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think as a first year film festival, if somebody goes in and sees that, then you think that they might think, oh, this festival is established, although you clearly state that it's a first year festival. So I think people necessarily have to do their research, because there's that gold rating, which means you're part of the gold program, which is, I think, something that Without a Box did, which is if you're part of Film Freeway's gold program, then it'll cost you less to submit to gold
Right.
festivals, right? But what I meant is more in terms of like, and you're putting me up on game on that, is what I want to make sure is that when people search for a festival, that they do their homework and that they understand that some of these festivals that are higher rated, they've earned that because they've been in the game 10, 15 years, and they're
Right.
consistently doing this for filmmakers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. When I go if I'm looking for a new film festival, what's important to me is the jury. I want to be able to see who's judging my film. And there's a lot of festivals where that information is just not available, right? So I want to know that there are people working in the industry who are looking at my film, not some friend off the street, and I don't want to name any local festivals, but
That's my job.
yeah.
Sorry, just kidding.
I think there have been some festivals where people that aren't really qualified to judge a film are doing the judging. So
No, yeah, absolutely. And again, anybody from any local film festival that wants to come talk to me about this, I have a open door policy. I mean, you just got to be open to the questions, like Terry is. You got to want the smoke. In the parlance of our time, people. Fernando Fisher dropping by. Saludos, Lude. Fernando, un abrazo, amigo. I will see you virtually at the San Diego Latino Film Festival this year. And again, David Dawson, check me. It's like anything else. Stuff is done to make plays against the lowest common denominator. If you don't know what you do, you'll get preyed on. Again, I agree. So it's a jungle out there for filmmakers. What I suggest to people is do your homework on the festival, reach out to them, always ask if they have criteria for waivers, especially if you're submitting to a festival that's a niche festival and you have a story that's about a niche group or about something that they may be trying to promote in that year's festival. Sometimes festivals from different cities, different types, different niches. Okay, we're going to talk about the immigrant experience this year. We're going to focus on filmmakers from Europe, from South America, from Mexico, Central America, etc. Women filmmakers, things like that. So always do your homework on the festivals, especially double check on the newer ones, and especially always check to see what the process, what the reviews are, etc. Besides those things, what else? What you were saying? What else do you look for besides making sure that there's industry people and the judges? What's other things that you look for?
I read the reviews, but I read the reviews with a grain of salt, because I also know that filmmakers can write really positive reviews about a festival because they want to submit again, and they don't want to get blacklisted because they wrote a bad review. But it was really interesting. I read a review of a festival that that was pretty negative, but it was really specific. They didn't feel like the communication was good, and that the filmmaker was ignored. And I was glad that that was still published, and that somebody was brave enough to tell the truth. But anyway, I'll read the reviews. I want to know how long they've been in business also. And of course, we're not yet because we're brand new. I looked to see if they're IMDb qualified.
Okay. And then you just throw money at it.
Well, necessarily, we don't have a budget for what we can, just like you said, right? You have a budget, and you have to be careful with, how you spend it. You don't just want to throw money at the wall and hope something's going to stick. You need to do your research.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're talking live on a Tuesday with Terry Ross. She's agreed to come on, talk about the film festival industry, about her brand new festival, which is let me pull this up for everybody here, the San Diego Movie Awards. San Diego Movie Awards. You can find them on Film Freeway for the time being. And we are talking with Terry Ross. Terry is an established filmmaker, and one of the movies that we've been talking about is her film, A Castle in Umbria. And I want to show you guys a clip from that film right now.
So what do you think? The Euro Chocolate Festival in Perugia is the festival.
I found a perfect rental for villa in Umbria.
Well, happy anniversary, my love. Gotta go to Perugia.
That doesn't look like scotch.
No day drinking.
You've been here before?
It's like a fun holiday romp.
You and your secrets.
This is impossible.
It's time to sell.
I feel for the guy.
If he sells, we're out on the streets.
Wait.
Say again, Sal?
I don't think I have any other option, Liv. You know what they say about second chance.
Carl!
Uh-oh.
This night, we prepare lasagna.
I'm not selling to the bastards.
I don't see what your choice is.
Let's go! Salute.
There you go. A Castle in Umbria. So this is part of your acting retreats workshop, right?
Mm-hmm. Film acting retreats. It's part of acting professionally.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a thing called like baseball fantasy camp. Okay, so it's, for example, like the Mets, and this is something that I'll probably do when I hit 50, is you pay a certain amount of money and you go to spring training like 2 weeks before the players get there, and you get to run around on the field with a bunch of other 40, 50-year-old guys that never got to play baseball, and you do drills and you play games against other teams, and it's a fantasy baseball camp. So you get to sort of live the life of a baseball player, no matter how athletic or not you are. Do you sort of, because when I think of an acting retreat where you just basically pay an amount, pay your way, you show up with us, we go to a location, we're gonna hang out there, but also we're gonna make a movie while we're there. Is that a fair comparison, basically, to what these are?
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you, Louis, I had wanted to do a film acting retreat since about 2007, and I was all set to do it in Tuscany, and I'd mapped out the whole thing, and but it was just going to be, we were going to do scenes from films that had been filmed in that area, and kind of have a movie night where we show all the scenes that we made, and going to eat great Italian food and go to great Italian places. Well, 2009 hit. This was not a time, when anybody wanted to be going spending money to go on an acting retreat in Italy when people were struggling to keep their homes. So I kind of went on the back burner. And then about 2 years ago, I just went, this is, I want to do this, but I had not really, made a film or very many films at that point. And I said, but let's make we'll make a film. So we found this gorgeous location. Everybody stayed at the castle. We had, these two incredible people, Maria and Mariano, who took amazing care of us and fed us. And I wrote the roles for each person. So I write the script, but the roles are specifically written for whoever is on the retreat.
Now, is there a line there where, if somebody is, able to commit to the price and to that, but they just have zero acting ability? Like, how do you judge that line where it's like, I want you to be involved, you're progressive, but I also want the film to have a level of production value at the end of it, right? Do you struggle with that limit, and how do you? I mean, and also you're an educator as well, so I know you can probably feel that you can bring a basic performance out of somebody that'll allow them to feel like they're part of it. They've learned, they've experienced it, they haven't wasted their money or time, right? But there has to be some sort of struggle for you in those situations.
Well, thus far, both for Castle in Umbria and then for Chateau in the Loire, which is coming up. And by the way, this is like a trilogy. So we're sort of following 3 generations of women in a family. Everybody who came to Castle in Umbria, I'd either worked with as an actor or was my student, with the exception of one person, a woman named Rachel, but she'd done some acting. So 2 weeks before we're supposed to go, she has an autoimmune disease and has a horrible sort of flare up. But she's still going to go, but her husband is going to take her place. So I have to 2 weeks before completely rewrite it. He's never done any acting.
Okay.
Ever. and he was nervous. I got to say the cast, the crew, they were fantastic with him. And, he took direction and he listened. And, I think kind of just being around all the other actors and their level of commitment to it, brought him into it. So, but coming up for a Chateau in the Loire, everyone has acted before or is my student. So that's fortunate.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But but you understand how I would sort of come to that conclusion, because it is sort of like a fantasy camp. Is you pay to go, you basically covering the cost of you getting to the location and stuff like that. You pay to be part of the program, to be coached by you. So you have to, but then you're also making a movie that's high enough quality that you're getting accolades for it. So that's a lot of juggling right there, right? That's a lot. That's a high degree of difficulty.
It is. And, when you have success with the first, you're always really worried about the second. So, I feel a kind of obligation, right, to make sure that we're at the same level. And it's a very different film, very different storyline that we're doing for a Chateau in the Loire. And there's a whole masquerade ball with 18th century, and there's dance, and just kind of up the ante, but I'm excited about it.
All right, catching up here with Terry Ross from San Diego Movie Awards, actingprofessionally.com. You can look her up and find information about her acting retreats, which she admits is sort of like an acting fantasy camp. And we're catching up with comments here. David Dawson says, if a truly legitimate festival wants your film, they won't let a submission fee get in the way. That is
That's
true.
really true. That is really true.
You get a couple of legit laurels. And I guess the thing I was talking about earlier with laurels is that, yes, if you put a bunch of them on your poster, then somebody's going to notice. But the people that are really looking into it will realize which one are the legit ones. So you got to be careful about what you promote. And IMDb doesn't really care anymore about qualifying festivals, not since they shut down Without a Box. That is true. So, that is true. Enslaved by Vegetables is stopping by saying nicely done and no day drinking. All right. All right, Cotton Kimuku says, cheersies, thank you for stopping by. And then Dawson with the question I think we already answered is, how does that not fall into play to pay rules? And, not to be, I know you're not being aggressive, David, but I think we've answered that, which is, it basically is to a degree, but you're still mostly working with people that are aware of the situation. Nobody's being told, nobody's being told that this is going to get you a deal with somebody or whatnot. It's basically you're right. You're part of this retreat. You're gonna, if you have the ability to take a vacation where you get to act and be part of a professional production, then I don't really see anything wrong with that.
Well, and they're going to stay in a chateau and get fed French food, and go to chateaus to visit and have a cooking class, and so everything that was in a castle in Umbria was part of the trip. So we went to a winery. They got to do wine tasting and all that stuff, and then we filmed the wine scenes. And then went to Perugia. We rented out a restaurant. They got to eat in the restaurant. We filmed those scenes. So everything is part of the retreat. I mean, they get pretty lovely accommodations and beautiful places in addition to, getting to make a film.
All right, I have one other question to you about the festival, and then we're going to move on to your career and sort of filmmaking, etc. All right, when I go to your award, if I want to submit my film, right, because everything is, I'm already signed in as their Mr. 2 a.m. Burrito. There you go, there I am. And I hit submit now, and I get your festival, right? Now, here's something that I wanted to ask you about, because I have a short that was accepted into San Diego Latino Film Festival. It's like a dramatic short, so I say, I want to submit to best drama short. Here it is. I select my movie. It's $30, but for gold members, they lose. It's a little bit cheaper, and then for students, it's cheaper. But my question becomes then, if I have the $30 to submit to this project, do I then also, if I want my film submitted and considered for awards, you have separate categories for those? So if I have a drama, but I feel that I did a great job with the screenplay, and I also have original music and the cinematography is good, if I decide that I want my film to be considered for each of these categories, my $30 submission suddenly becomes like $120, $150 submission. Is that the way it's intended? Is that you feel that's like industry standard right now, or can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you would still be considered for best dramatic short, right? And I need to put somewhere on there that films may be awarded for categories they didn't submit for.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So why the separate category? Is that for people that simply want to stress the fact?
Yeah, they want to, they want a specific area to really be paid attention to, not just the overall, not just the overall film, but, we want a best cinematography award or something.
Okay, so you can understand how, from my take on kind of how festivals are run, how I would feel that would kind of feel a little bit money grabbing to me, right?
Yes, I can see that, but I certainly did it. I did it with every, if I wanted it is sort of industry standard. If I wanted us to be considered for ensemble film, that was an additional charge.
Okay.
And I do want to say, Louis, that the money, so much of the money is going to go back to $4,000 in prizes we're giving out. Okay. I mean, that's not nothing, right?
No, and I understand that. So I wanted to make sure you understand. I'm not gotcha, Terry. No, I really am trying to learn, a little bit of behind the scenes on this. And I mean, in my opinion, I guess, studios do this all the time. They spend a ton of money and they send awards and they send screeners to people and say, for consideration. We really think, and I thought that was one of the things that I always said to local festivals like Film Week and stuff. I said, if you're going to do some of these things, then you should at least allow people to sort of say, here, this is the areas where I believe my film excels in. So if you're only going to watch half of it, please at least pay attention to the fact that I have an original score for it or something like that. But I wouldn't be, honest if I didn't say it feels a little bit weird that it's that for each of those other things you have that. But if you're telling me it's industry standard, I guess we can agree to disagree on that one.
And I also want to say this is kind of an announcement. It actually hasn't. I think I might have stuck a little blurb on the Film Freeway, but we just got a wonderful agreement from Indie Rights. I don't know if you're familiar with Indie Rights distribution. They distributed Carving a Life, and we looked into so many distribution companies, and they're really legit. They don't charge the filmmaker up front. They sell internationally. They're on all kinds of streaming platforms. They didn't guarantee that Indie Rights would pick up a film, but they will watch it and consider it for distribution. So it's an entree in the door, which is not easy to get. And they have promised us that they will do that.
And again, I want to stress that I will be submitting my films to this festival. So I'm not saying this in like I said, I'm not trying to get a gotcha or anything like that. I just legitimately,
totally.
And again, I respect the fact that you're open to like coming on and answering the questions, etc. And it is very different in as much as you have publicly stated, best feature $2,500, best short $1,500. So you're putting your money where your mouth is. And it is expensive to run a festival. It is expensive to run a theater. I've rented the MOPA before. We sold it out, by the way. So again, I want to make sure that my whole thing is the gray area, making sure that people understand that things aren't black and white. There is sort of a gray to this, especially when you get to the film festival industry, and especially when you're talking about making something that you're passionate about because you want to do it, but you also can't operate it at a loss, right? Right.
Okay.
All right.
I really am proud of the fact that we are able to offer that foot in the door to Indie Rights, because I think that's pretty unique.
Right. And then use code Burrito for an extra 15% off, right, Terry? Right. I'm just
kidding. Right, there you
go. We're talking with Terry Ross of Acting Professionally. She's recently started a brand new festival in San Diego. It's going to be quarterly festival with a yearly award ceremony. How is that going to work? So we're in the first quarter right now. I'm going to submit some films to it. They're all going to be accepted because I'm an awesome filmmaker. Then who am I up against? Am I up against only local filmmakers, or are you putting all of them up against everybody's up against everybody, right? Everything that comes in.
Yep. Everything that comes in.
The selection process is you sent me a panel of judges. I don't have it here to show it now, but you have a panel of judges with varying degrees of experience. You send them all the films. Do they all watch everything? Do you split them up? Do you separate it by genre? How's the back end on that work?
Right. So the films will, if people have asked specifically, like, I want somebody to look at the choreography in my film, or I want somebody to look at the cinematography, or I want somebody to look at the actor or whatever, then that film will go to that person whose area of expertise can judge, right? And then I'm also judging, right? So, but I will send the films that I select, and I will send them to maybe 5 of the judges for an overall rating.
And then just based on that rating, you're just going to go math and say everything above an 8 or a 7.5, we're going to take a second look, or that moves on, etc. Right?
Yeah, and as a festival director, I have kind of, if I really want to like a film, it's going to be in there.
Carte blanche.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you and Ethan and Miguel, and Jody, and the other people, the top dogs of these festivals. I would assume you get some sort of final say on films that could go either way, or where there's a discussion, right?
Right.
All right, and I guess. What is it that is there a specific niche? Is there a specific thing that you guys will focus on each quarter? Or because I could if you just say, all right, send us all your movies, all right, cool, and then you just is there something that will be the theme for each quarter, for each year? Does it depend on what you get in, or have you guys not thought that far ahead into it?
No, that's a great question, and I think because we had a niche festival with the Wild and Scenic up in Julian, that I really wanted it wide open. And at least right now, in terms of the submissions I'm getting, I'm so glad of that. I'm some of the European films that have come in are just such a different sensibility than American, and I don't know. I'm loving the variety of the types of films that we're getting. That might change, but right now, bring it on.
Bring it on. All right, you are a filmmaker, but you're also a teacher. If you had the choice right now between being nominated for an Oscar but not winning, so you get nominated as best director for one of your films, or having one of your pupils who you've from when they were a little pup, you showed them her ropes and they grew in the industry, and they get nominated for an Oscar but they win the Oscar. Would you rather Terry Ross get nominated for an Oscar and not win, or one of your acting students gets nominated for a best supporting actor but they do win?
That's such a funny question. I mean, hands down, I'd want my student to win the Oscar.
Okay.
I'll just tell you a little bit. I acted for a long time, and the first show I ever directed, it was with teenagers and high school students. And the difference I felt on opening night, the pride I felt in those kids, how happy I was for what they did versus how I used to beat myself up on opening night as an actor. I much prefer to be the cheerleader.
Okay. I like to ask those type of questions. Sorry, Terry.
No worries.
All right, we're talking live with Terry Ross from Acting Professionally, her acting retreats, the brand new San Diego Movie Awards. We're going to get into her career and her life as a teacher and a director on Fireside Chats after this quick transition. All right. So I wanted to get into a little bit about your background and what brought you into filmmaking, into teaching. Did you have the bug for creating and love of film first, or did you have the love or the ability to teach and coach first?
The chicken or the egg?
Right.
I've been a film bug since I was 7 years old.
What's the first movie you're obsessed about?
Gilda. When I was 7.
Okay.
So I used to, pretty much be on my own on Saturday, lived in San Francisco, and walk down to the Union Theater, and they showed kind of I saw in God Created Women when I was 7, so sort of, I loved French film, noir, whatever. But I didn't, as an actor, that wasn't where I first went. I first went to theater, and then became really obsessed with theater, and eventually got an agent and, did some film work and stuff in San Francisco. And I had a year that was really, really successful with my acting work. And I can remember being on stage and going, I just want to do something more. I want to do something more. So I actually just quit acting after the best year I ever had, went back to school, and started directing some short scenes and whatever. Long story, I got hired to run a drama program in a high school, and that's when I first started directing. So I first started directing and got my MFA, and ended up going to UC Davis and get my MFA in directing, and was directing theater primarily. And I was still doing some acting here in San Diego, and Shaman Freitas was my agent. There was a guy, Richard Carrion, who used to be an agent at Shaman Freitas, and he came to teach a class where I was teaching at San Diego State. He came to teach a class on auditioning for, and getting an agent. and afterwards said, you know, we need somebody to teach film acting in San Diego. Could you do it? And I'm like, I guess, you know, I mean, I don't have a camera, you know. So he was great. He set me up with a friend of his, a photographer and a camera, and sent me clients. And that's kind of how I started. And anyway, the way I actually got into making films and doing my film showcases was I would be doing these hybrid showcases, right? Where we would work on film acting and being on camera in class, but then I do the showcases and I'd have these, you know, television set up, and I'd try to block it for camera. And then I just kind of went, maybe I should just, you know, film the scenes. And I had no idea what I was getting into when I did that.
Right.
The first one was a mess, you know, it was kind of a mess. We did black and white. We did old black, white films. It wasn't in the right venue and all kinds of stuff. And it just evolved. And one of my film acting students was in the top 10 of the 48-hour film festival, right? And that was the one that the film noir, that Merrick won for, the really great black and white one. I can't think of the name of it, but it was really good. That was the one that won and went to Cannes. Okay. Anyway, but I went, there aren't any women filmmakers up there. There's none. It's all men. So I called my cinematographer who was doing my showcases, and I said, Jen, we're making a movie next year for the 48. And so that's kind of how it started. And I did like 6 48s, and then kind of Carving a Life happened. And you know what I mean? It just, I wasn't somebody who said, okay, this is my path and my journey, and in 5 years I want to be here. It just evolved.
And then, you know, and I've said this before, that I've hired and I've worked with actors based on some of your showcases that I've gone to, and I've found a lot of talented actors. Even this year when it went virtually, you sent me a book of headshots and a thumb drive with everybody's scene on it, and I have some of those actors in my mind for future stuff like that. And obviously, always a big fan because you work with Oscar. When you find somebody, when somebody like that comes into your life, and you see that what a good eye and how talented they are. How does that change that process for you?
Makes it so easy. I feel like working with Oscar, we have shorthand. We don't even need to talk. You know, like I'll maybe even have, you know, I'll start to go up with a suggestion, and he's like, "You want this? I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I feel like he reads my mind. It's incredible. When we change DPs on Carving a Life, I felt like I was in a new universe. I don't know how else to put it. You know, it's just so. I've called him, Oscar, if you're listening, you know, but I've called him my creative husband. I just feel like there's a real kind of mind meld. So.
Yeah, two things with Oscar. One time, like, and I said this in the movie that we made about him, is we were filming in a gym that had some mirrors, and somebody that thought they knew about making them. We were like, "Hey man, when they turn, you're gonna see the reflection. They're gonna see the whole cast." And I was like, "Look at Oscar over there. Unless he looks worried, I'm not worried. That's why he's here, so that I can focus on fucking with the actors and this and that, and let it do." And working with him, you do get sort of a mind meld where I don't even need to ask if the take was good. I just got to look for his expression after I yell cut, or if in the middle of the take I can see him going like, you know, I'm just, even if I'm like, cut. He's not. There's something with it right now. So shout out Oscar Velasquez, who's well deserved as one of the top cinematographers and filmmakers in San Diego. And this is the poster for the movie.
I love it. Oh my God, it's awesome. You know, somehow, I don't know, it's probably because it's small, but he kind of looks like Bruce Springsteen to me in that picture. I don't know.
Maybe that's the jacket and the jeans. He is kind of like a Mexican Bruce Springsteen a little bit there, Oscar.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, so Oscar's story will be part of the local short docs selections for the San Diego Latino Film Festival that starts here in March. So wanted to give him a shout out since he's one of the longtime 2M Burrito collaborators. He's a good friend. I value him, and he's incredibly talented. So the fact that you find work, you know, David Dawson had to leave. Dawson says, "Got to run. Congrats on everything, Terry. Miss teaching with you.
I miss
Thank
you,
you."
too, David. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Mr. Kurt Greewan from Enslaved by Vegetables says that poster looks amazing.
That looks amazing.
Thank you, Kurt. If you guys notice right there, right here, I'm gonna brag on my friend real quick here. If you look here at the bottom, it says music by Kurt Greewan. And he's Enslaved by Vegetables. So I really want to take a real quick second here because he's another longtime collaborator. If you need music for your film, San Diego and otherwise, look him up on Spotify. He has an entire album, Terry, you yourself, of movie stuff that he's got. It's real moody. Enslaved. If you look for him on YouTube, he's called Enslaved by Vegetables, and he's got a ton. He's an incredibly prolific songwriter. My intro music, the music that I play when the stream is about to start,
I like that.
All composed by him.
Nice.
And we have a really good working relationship. He's a big he listens to the pod and stuff like that, which is he says Oscar looks like he's born in the USA, ironically enough.
Yeah, right. See? It was the same thing. I also would really like to give a shout out to John Freeman, who came with us to Oscar. Wasn't able to come because of
right.
Right. And John is also incredibly talented and wonderful to work with. So
Absolutely.
I feel so blessed to have these two amazing DPs to work with.
Yeah, so shout out John and Oscar, some of the top DPs in San Diego and in Southern California altogether. Yeah, and they work together. So I would assume that there's not much of a drop off in terms of the working process with either one of those for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a simpatico. I don't know how else to put it.
All right, we're talking with Terry Ross, acting professionally. So you start off, you get your chops as an actor, which I believe is important to be able to, sort of relate to the actor's experience. That's part of the reason that, I started in acting, which I always thought I wanted to be a director. I always walked around since I was a kid with ideas of scenes, ideas in my mind of stuff that was happening. And then I was like, oh, I can make movies. But I started off as an actor. We talked about kind of the different techniques and stuff like that. I studied not under, but next to Uta Hagen from HB Studios in New York, in the Village, which is one of the most recognizable names in sort of theater acting. You got Stanislavski, you got what are the other major
Stella Adler.
Strasberg, etc. Method acting, I guess. I've always said I don't mind method actors, but I do mind actors on meth. I don't like those. But when you transition from acting yourself to teaching acting, and specifically, I guess, film acting, do you draw from what you think the perceived sort of zeitgeist, I guess would be the word, or of all these sort of established techniques and styles, or do you focus on what worked for you individually to raise your skill level?
That's a great question, and I was fortunate enough to I had probably 20 years of training. Even when I was working, I was always still in class, and so I have all these different theories and genres and a lot of physical training, which is kind of a little bit more what you expect in a British school. But I went to ACT, and in my MFA program, there was a lot of outside in, a lot of vocal work, a lot of physical work, a lot of physical training, in addition to all the sort of traditional method aspects, right? But what works for me doesn't necessarily work for other people. So I feel fortunate as a coach that I can pull off of a variety of different methodologies to give to students. Kind of, I try to meet them where they are and see what works. And if something doesn't work, we try something else.
Yeah, when I guess one of the things that's been a topic for me before is that while I was saying that I wanted to make movies, and I went to film school but dropped out because I felt like I was learning an outdated practical. They were still teaching us like the Foley room and like cutting and splicing film, and we were one of the first schools that had an Avid system, but the Avid system was the size of this room. And I was reading all these trades. These were the late 90s where it was like, okay, you're going to be able to edit a movie on your iMac, on your Mac, or on your on your laptop. And I was like, why am I learning surgery with sticks and stones? So I got out of school, but I worked as a coach and a trainer, where I had to learn people's personality types pretty quickly, because they would come into this call center to work. I would have to figure out how to motivate them, how to get them to work for me, how to understand the concepts that I was trying to get them apart to them, right? And I did this, and I literally trained about 10,000 people over like a 15-year career, while I was talking about making movies, but not actually making movies. So I've put in well more than 10,000 hours in training, which is, I think, and I didn't realize that when I actually stepped on a movie set, I was much more comfortable as a first-time director than I would have been, because of the fact that I had all this other knowledge that had nothing to do with film.
Right.
But I can step on a set, figure out what my DP is going to respond to, what my sound guy, are they this type of person, what's their personality type, how can I, I'm a consensus builder on set. Water is wet, this is this, that's and that, boom boom boom, this is why the scene is happening, right? So I sort of feel that do you feel that you also bring things from just your life experiences when you teach, and kind of, how do you kind of zone in on what that particular actor gets, so you can unlock that performance?
Absolutely, right. I mean, as actors, as directors, as coaches, we're going to bring our life experience, and with the years, right? We've been around a lot of different people, so I feel I'm pretty intuitive on personality types. And I can just tell, right? If I give direction to someone, and either they can't incorporate it, then I'm going to just, I'm going to try another way in, right? Some people are really imagistic, right? So if I can give them an image, they can go off of it, right? Some people too, if we can't quite find the rhythm or tempo of the character, we'll go to music, just whatever. I just, whatever to try to bring somebody alive. And really, I think the main thing with training actors is giving them the freedom to start to trust themselves and their choices. Because I really believe an actor's talent is in their confidence. If you're not confident in, making choices and going bold if you need to, you're gonna miss certain aspects of a character or moments or whatever. So I just feel, that you want to create an atmosphere where an actor feels comfortable to
They can let go,
take a risk. Mm-hmm.
I'm always impressed. I've said this a million times before as well, that when an actor makes a choice specifically on an audition that's outside of the page that they're given, because I feel that shows that they're putting in work for the character. And like when I cast our film Slapworthy, an actor came in, and like I said literally a million times, and he came in and he sort of had made the character dorkier than I thought, and he had given him this lisp, and he had these mannerisms that he had sort of created for him. And I already kind of knew that Dominic was going to be my Hank, but I had people audition too, because I had other small parts and I hadn't fully written it yet. So I was like, no, this dude's going to be in my movie. And I was like, but I was impressed when people make those choices. Is that something that's innate to the actor's skill, or is that something that you think can be taught?
No, that can be taught. That can be taught, right? Through a variety of kind of character techniques. I think that can be taught. I think the most difficult, it's my new short concept I'm working on, is for actors to understand that what they're thinking and feeling is much more important than what they're saying.
Right.
So it's really easy to an actor to get tripped up on lines, right? And just breaking, breaking that mindset, so that, you know, it's not the lines, it's what's behind the lines, But
So if the emotion and the feeling is there, it will be easier for the line to come out.
yeah, and it doesn't matter how you say it, or you know what I mean? If you're being the character, if you're in the moment, if you understand what you want, if you know what you're listening for, it just happens. That's a whole lot easier said than done,
No.
because I believe really strongly in text work. I really believe in pulling apart the script and all the analysis and everything, so that you can play, so then you can throw it away because you've done the work.
One of the things that I enjoyed the most when I was at HB was scene study, where usually an acting teacher much more learned than yourself would give you the scene from this obscure play, and you'd have to go by it, and you'd be like, okay, why does she want me to do this scene? And then I remember, for example, one of my teachers would make us. She would tell two actors what they were playing in an improv scene, but they wouldn't tell each other, right?
Right.
And so we were doing a scene with another partner, and then she had me improv, and she told the other actor that they were a puppy and that they were just peeing all over the place, and they told me, you got to keep this puppy from peeing on your carpet, right? And then she let us play the scene out until I physically almost picked up the actor and like took them off screen, and then afterwards she was like, okay, that's who your character is in the scene that I gave you. That's the emotion. Do you go that deep into pinpoint like that minutia, or do you try to stay a little bit more broader when you with your teaching techniques, or does it depend on the level of the actor?
Well, it depends on the level of the actor, and it also depends. That work is a little bit more for theater, actually, unless I'm on set with somebody and we kind of can't find what it is. We'll play around with improv or do whatever we need to do, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't usually do that level of improv with the film work.
The things like, okay, yeah, okay, I'm looking
And
at
I
it.
really can't do it right now because we're te- teaching acting during a pandemic online was it's different.
But I think that the actor is still hungry, right? Like I think this is a great time to do like the 10 exercise, the Uta Hagen exercises, because there's literally things that you do. They're literally exercises that actors can do by themselves. Walking into a room with a purpose, etc. Whatever it is, the different exercises, that you can do in essence, and then possibly point a camera in the room and say, all right, let me see you walk into that room, right? I mean, there is something, even though it might not be the perfect sort of environment right now, there's still a hunger from actors that want to take advantage of this time, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, so much, everything is self-tape. So we really do spend a lot of time making sure that they have everything they need, equipment wise. And, I mean, there's a lot of just technical stuff right now for actors. And there's an expectation, right? There's an expectation now on self-tapes, on equality and all that kind of stuff. So we work to make sure that they've got that work in good shape too.
No, that absolutely makes sense. I mean, I'm sure that you've adapted to it, and I think that most of my experience came more from a theater background. But I love theater actors because usually you just
Oh,
have to tell
yeah.
them, you just have to tell them to tone it down a little bit. It's just
So
step.
true.
Yeah, they're never not loud enough. That's number one,
And
right?
there's kind of discipline, there's a discipline in theater training that shows.
And I actually, that you mentioned it, I actually have to do a self-tape audition after I get done with this interview, because
Oh, wow.
as many of the people out there know, Lou's got acting chops, you know. So I guess I got a lot of training in me. And honestly, you know, I have a day job and I take care of my dad and I do a lot of things. Or, you know, I get asked a lot because I have on occasion taught into, you know, or done reviews for people of their reels, and you know, the kind of the stuff that I talk about. So you know, we might have competing film festivals and competing acting schools at some point, Terry.
That's all right. Like David Dawson said.
But mine is called Acting Kinda Professionally.
I love it.
Go ahead.
I just sent you a little note.
Okay, got it. Not a problem. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we have a transition for that, Terry. So don't worry. And I do. So I want to do something cool with you. I want you to review my reel and criticize me as much as you want as an acting professional to another acting professional. And we're gonna be right back with Terry Ross. We're both gonna take a quick 90-second break. Be back right now on Fireside Chats. And we are kind of back. All right, we're gonna give it another
back. I just realized I got to plug in my computer.
All right, we're live talking on Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito with Miss Terry Ross from Acting Professionally. Thank you, everybody that's stopped in. If you have any questions about acting, about the San Diego Movie Awards, about the acting retreats, follow Terry Ross. You can go to actingprofessionally.com. As always, remember, if you are stopping by for the first time today, if you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you like and follow the page so you get notified when I go live with other interviews. Maybe you're an interesting person and you want me to interview. Would love to. Also, twitch.tv/2amburrito. Sometimes we play video games. We also stream our interviews there. You can catch the old ones. If you are on Twitch, go ahead, check us out. And also to watch some of my old movie work, my reels, the other content that I make for filmmakers and actors alike, check out youtube.com/2amburrito. And also, to catch up with the podcast, if you're an audiophile and you like to listen to the podcast on audio only, a couple of days after the live streams, we always drop the podcast on all major platforms, including Spotify, iTunes. I just realized as well that you can actually listen to our podcast at on Amazon. So all you got to do is look for 2 a.m. Burrito on Audible. The 2 a.m. Burrito Show is the name of the podcast, the audio version, and you can find that on Spotify, as well as Pandora, all the other good stuff. So let me bring back Terry here as we continue this conversation. She is Terry Ross from actingprofessionally.com. She also hosts Acting Retreats, which we've established is like an acting fantasy baseball camp, where you can go on vacation and make a movie and learn about the process of making movies with a professional award-winning director. We've talked about the film festival industry. She's answered all my questions about why she decided that San Diego needed another film festival. And we've had a conversation now, talked about sort of acting and different techniques, and a little bit about the process of teaching. But as I said, one of the bits that I do on my kind of channel in terms of content is something called reel reviews, where I review actors' reels in real time, meaning I don't watch it ahead of time. I click play, and as soon as I see it on the screen, I begin to react as a director does when somebody submits for a project, right? These are the things that happen if you say, all right, so here's the scenario, as my dog wakes up in the background. Here's the scenario, Terry, all right? I am submitting my reel to you for a future project. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to play some big tough guy in that kills somebody in a castle or something. All right. And I am submitting my reel directly to you. And I want you to be as honest and as cruel as you can or want to be as you watch this reel in real time, knowing nothing about the fact that I have some chops and acumen. This is strictly an exercise in review and how blunt you can be. All right.
All right. I look forward to it.
You're up for it.
I'm up for it.
All right. Here is my reel. I'm putting it up here on the full screen on my. I'm going to share my thing again here, and I'm gonna I give you the floor to say anything you want as we start. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Wait. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That man walks with a limp. That's my code.
Are you sure? Because I have it right here. I'm supposed to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Is this your first day or something?
You know what? Honestly, it kind of is. I've been like in a little career transition. I was doing some driving, but then I thought maybe like spying is something that I could be good at. So
okay, let's just try this again. Why do you walk with a limp, fat man?
Here, just take it. Actually, if it's all the same, because I was looking at this one earlier. You guys ever do like karaoke or something?
Believable as a spy.
¿Y todo esto? ¿Cómo que todo esto? ¿Cuándo has caído aquí por menos de una onza? ¿Crees que tengo que ir a la casa por un 20? Llévate todo eso, te quedas con un poquito, me vendes el resto, me devuelves la feria la semana que viene.
You've showed me enough of this film, Lou. Cut this clip shorter. As I critique myself.
I got a garage cam.
Oh man, this could be anybody. You got a mystery pooper on your hand. Don't come blaming it on us.
It won't be a mystery once I get my lab results back.
Lab results? You're gonna go full shitgate on this?
Oh yeah. And once I get my results and I prove it, I'm gonna go to the cops. And then I'm gonna go to the FBI.
You mean more like IBS, am I right?
You don't even talk in this clip. Why am I seeing this? We get it. You love weed.
Hey, I want to wrap those legs around me like a scarf. Hey, yeah? Whoop, whoop. Sit down.
Help me! Help!
Super genius. You hear that thumping upstairs? There's a club, people dancing, DJs. I did what I was supposed to do.
Badly edited.
You a lapdog too?
Huh? Think your buddy's gonna come and rescue you? All right, you got 40 people on the street looking for you. Somebody's
Too
gonna
much
find
of the
you.
other actor in your
After
scene.
that, that's what they're gonna tell me. Get rid of that little bitch's body.
You don't need to see all of this for context. Too stiff. Oh!
Have your shitbag underachieving mystery pooper arrested and thrown in jail.
Wait a minute. Is that? Do you have that shit in that cooler right there? Oh God! Oh my God, Frank! Put that shit away. I thought that was just your normal day-to-day stink. I didn't know you brought shit to a fucking meeting.
Well, I was on the way to the lab after I leave here. Drop it off.
You do realize that you cannot get DNA from a stool sample.
More bullshit from the bullshitter. I'll be back.
Fat man to Eagle's Nest. Zadroba. The donuts have been eaten. Time to hit the pool. Over and out.
All right.
All right. First off, Louis, you are really funny. You probably know that, right? But also can play the tough guy, right? And those are the two types I'm seeing primarily, right, in your reel. So I'm going to tell you what I tell every actor who usually sends me the reel, and this is usually what is happening with it. Is first of all, it's too long. So reels need to be between at the very most 2 minutes, right? Second of all, I don't want to see anybody else. So as a casting director, right? And I only have a certain amount of time. You really have to kind of get inside their heads, right? And I want to see you. So every time somebody else is on the screen, it takes away from me looking at you, and then I'm looking at another actor, and you don't want that, right? So my suggestion to you is to actually start with your last clip, because that's really interesting, right? So what you want to do on a reel, you want to start with a close-up. You don't ever, on your reel, you don't put your, you wait to put your headshot and contact information at the end of your reel. So I'd start with that really kind of compelling clip. And then I would go through and just, mercilessly cut the other people out of your scene. Right. And you're going to have about the right amount. There's a couple clips. I think that last 2-bit thing that you're doing with Randy, I don't, and the other thing, I don't think you need, to put that film in twice.
Okay.
And now I want to see it again after you do that editing, because I've truly, really send it to me, right? Okay. Because then we'll be looking at you, right? So a typical thing that people are doing now on like Actors Access is that they're making short clips, which are like, you would have like 45 seconds and it's your comedy, and then 45 seconds that you're dramatic. So that becomes much more efficient for you when you submit, right? If I'm looking for a tough guy, right, then I've got, then you're that tough guy. Or if I'm looking for comedy, then, and you, but both of those are very strong. So.
Yeah, man, I believe, well, the first clip and the one where I kicked in the chest, those were those movies that I made with Oscar. And most of these are just cameos that I've written for myself and stuff that I've written, but I am a trained actor, so I do. Yeah, so but talent wise, if you were gonna put me into like either beginner, intermediate, or advanced kind of section, where would you put me?
I put you definitely in the intermediate class.
Okay, nice.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. All right, got it. Yeah, so your boy's got some chops still.
Mm-hmm.
The one in Spanish is I was filming the movie. This is the movie that got into the San Diego the film festival this year, and right after we were going to film a scene, an intervention scene, right? And I really needed everybody to really bring their A game, right? So I decided to use an old coaching technique, means make everybody hate you. So that they're all sort of working, so that everybody else feels a little camaraderie, right? And they want to prove Louis wrong. So I could either shoot their scenes first or get my scenes first, right? So everybody's in the kitchen, like 15, 20 crew and actors are in the kitchen, and I'm in the living room filming the scene. Just me, camera guy, sound guy, Dominic. Boom. Everybody else is away, right? Because I'm directing myself. So I tell Paul, who you've worked with, Paul Jarrett, to tell me if I'm doing everything wrong. So we do a wide and we do a close up, one take each time. So so after I finish it, I'm like, anybody count how many takes that was? Oh, just the one take? I got it in one? Oh, okay. Just one take, Paul. We got
one take wonder.
So both of those, one take.
Wow.
And after that, and I could see them from the kitchen, and they're like, fucking Louis with his big head and his narcissism and blah blah blah, and I could just sense that it was working. And all right, cool. We set up for them, and each of them crushed, because they had to read these letters of, like these emotional letters in terms of, like, as you do in an intervention. But they brought it. So I was like, well, I wonder if this will work. And I just wanted to be an asshole for a minute and say it like that. But the point of that is that you have to figure out different ways to motivate crew and cast. I wanted to ask you one more question about process, and then I want to do a bracket bit with you. Do you find yourself, because I'm just thinking about different ways to get performance when you're on set versus when you're coaching somebody. Do you ever feel that when you're directing, you might do too much teaching? Do you have to change your style because you need the performance now, as opposed to when you're teaching and it's sort of a gradual sort of growth? And do you battle with yourself on set in terms of, how should I approach this specific scene and the issue this actor is having right now?
I am very different on set. I don't teach on set.
Okay. You've made a conscious decision that you have to sort of change your personality kind of style in that moment, right?
I do, and I sometimes
did you learn from that, like, because you used to do it, or did you have to stop yourself, like, wait, I'm teaching, I need to be directing? Or did you sort of, when you started to do it, did you already come into it with that kind of preconceived notion?
I mean, it may just haven't been, back and forth really from theater, where I'd be teaching acting and then I'd be directing, and some of it's just time. There's when you're coaching and when you're, there's the luxury of time for an actor to find stuff, and you don't have the luxury of time on set. So a lot of it really is that, and we, if we need to get something and I'm not getting it, I'll take the actor aside and say whatever I need to to get what we need.
I've very rarely said, I've maybe only done this maybe twice in my entire directing career, where I was like, let me show you, and I felt dirty about it afterwards, because I felt like I didn't give the actor, because the actor got it. They understood it. They're like, okay, I'm just going to mimic you. And after they were mimicking me, they were like, okay, I get it now. And I've only used that once or twice, and I felt a little bad about it, because I felt like I didn't let them get there themselves. But do you have you ever had to step in, or is that like a steadfast rule for you?
That's a hard line for me. I mean, I have actors, in class, or, sometimes on set, just show me, and I won't do it. I'm like, then you're not,
Damn it, Lou.
But it's that, then you're imitating me. You're not in the moment and so I just.
It's kind of like a beat. it's like kind of don't break this glass type thing for me. Like if I absolutely like if I'm just everything else is failing, then like I said, I've only done it a couple of times in my entire career where I've been like, okay, let me show you because I want something very specific. I know what I need. I know what I want. Like I said, I as a director, and let me tell me if you agree with this, unless a choice the actor is making is pissing me off, even if it's not exactly what I envisioned, if I know they put the work into the character and they do it and it's something I hadn't thought about, and I just gotta sit there and be like, does that piss me off? It doesn't? Okay, keep doing it. If you came to that and it works, but if I know because of the script and because of what I want to establish cinematically what exactly I need, I might nudge a little bit in that direction.
I you know, most of the time, yeah, I just feel like it's a collaborative process working on a film, right? So if an actor is bringing in an idea and it's interesting, we're going to try it, you know. And if I learned this from William Ball at ACT. If you say yes to an actor 3 times, they'll begin to really trust their instinct. So yes, you can try this. Yes, try it, right? And a lot of times, if it's not working, the actor by the 3rd time will go, you know what, this isn't working. We're going to go back. So and I don't know who's listening. If we, you know, we're running out of time, we've tried it a bunch of ways and the actor can't get it, in my head, I'm like, okay, it's going to be on the other actor most of the time through the scene.
Yeah.
In the edit. I'm sorry. Nobody's specific there, but that's what we do. That's what I do.
No, and if you're rehearsing 2 actors and one of them clearly has the scene down and the other one doesn't, or they keep messing up their lines, then you're going to start with the coverage and you're going to spend most of your time with the coverage of the actor that heads it, and that's going to give the actor who's not focus of the scene yet a couple more chances to to get it before we start. In those cases, I might even start with the close-up of the actor who's well ahead so that the other actor can be over the shoulder and he can even be like getting
exactly. And then they've done it a bunch of times, and so then they're ready by the time you turn the camera up.
By the time that means hey, but those are tricks of the trade, that you gotta come up with, because I believe that
I just revealed a little secret there.
But I at this level of independent filmmaking, being a director where you're mostly the producer, casting director, and the chief financier, it is about it's about problem solving. It's really about what happened that day. At this level of filmmaking, it's who got into a car crash that morning, who overslept and is late, what piece of equipment did you forget, what location fell through, what location is a lot more noisy than you remember because you came to check it out on a Sunday and you're filming on a Tuesday.
So true, Louis. So true.
So at this level of filmmaking, it is about, hey, the camera's not here. Guess what? Sound's here. Everybody pull out that 4K camera you got in your pocket. We're going to shoot it on phones and we're going to have excellent sound, and then we'll figure it out later. It's about problem solving. And part of the content that I want to put out and that I want to train filmmakers on is that my school is called Ed Wood Film School, because I kind of feel like that embodies kind of that guerrilla sort of filmmaking, ruggedness that I like. And it's really just about adjusting and making sure that you don't waste a day and that you do, what you need to. As my dog readjusts because they've been sleeping all day, so obviously they got to get there. All right, we're talking with Terry Ross from Acting Professionally, actingprofessionally.com. Where is the easiest place for them to find out about the retreats? Look up San Diego Movie Awards on Facebook. Look up San Diego Movie Awards on Film Freeway. Put it on your watch list so that you can be notified when the next event is. They are currently taking entries until April. For their first
early submission,
for early bird for April. I will be submitting a couple of films because as they begin their festival run, and also you can look her up and find out about their acting retreats where you can go to Europe. They've stayed in castles. They're going to different places. It's like an act. It's like an actation. You can act while you're on vacation.
There you go, an actation. I like it.
And we've been talking about just film festivals. What it takes to run one. What is the right and wrong way to run one, and as we add another one to the mix here in San Diego. And you answered all the questions, and I appreciate that. So let me just, before we forget, thank you very much for coming on to answer the questions, and thank you for being here with us.
Pleasure, Lewis, and thank you for having me and talking about it.
Absolutely. Like I said, I reacted immediately. I got angry. Like immediately, I was like, I'm feeling. This is, I was like, but that's just based on my experience with other festivals and my thought process. But after I sat down and I got over myself and I started to think about it, I was like, okay, let me be open-minded about this, and let me reach out to Terry. And you were like, yeah, I'll come on, I'll talk about it. You can ask me whatever you want. I was like, cool, let's go. Let's set it up. Set them up, I'll knock them down, Terry Ross. But one thing I like to do with all my guests is something that we like to call, and you might hear this familiar sound. It's time for Bracket Bit.
Bracket Bit.
Bracket Bit. Bracket Bit. Bracket Bit. Bracket Bit. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bracket Bit. Bracket Bit. Bracket Bit. Bracket Bit. Whoa, 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 whoa,
Right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for a Bracket Bit. Thanks for the Twitch people that are coming on, Mr. Yes, I do read chat occasionally. How you doing, Mr. Frodo? We are talking with Terry Ross, actor, acting professionally, acting retreats, the San Diego Movie Awards New Film Festival, quarterly with a yearly awards, $2,500 for best
feature
film, and $1,500 for best short. And we're going to do bracket bits. You're an acting teacher. This bracket bit is going to be about actors. Now, here it is. I'm going to give you two actors, Terry Ross. I put up the bracket. You decide what you want to do with it, how you want to solve it, all right? So I'm going to give you two actors. You can say which one I would rather have in my film, which one I would rather teach. But these are the 32 of what I believe are some of the most established actors in terms of talent out right now. Some of them, okay, before and after, all right? Are you ready for the bracket bit?
Ready.
All right, here we go. All right. In the first round, we have A-list acting competition. We have Marlon Brando. Quite possibly, he's the number one seed, one of the most talented actors of all time. Or the guy who should be James Bond, Idris Elba, The Wire. He's been in a million other movies. Both talented actors. Who moves on?
Okay, so you didn't say when Marlon Brando, right? But
this is acting school Brando. This is like young Brando. Let's go young Brando.
I'm still gonna go with Idris.
Idris, ooh, upset. First round. Idris Elba moves on. All right. This guy walked around on the set of Lincoln acting like he didn't know what a cell phone was. Daniel Day-Lewis. Also, you make an argument of, what would My Left Foot be a movie that people would say, oh, they should have gotten a disabled actor for now if he did it today. An incredibly talented actress. So is Elizabeth Taylor. Which one moves on?
Well, yeah, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is amazing, but I just got done watching Elizabeth Taylor and Cat on a Hut Tin Roof. I like to watch, Turner Classic sometime. And, I just love her. So I'm going to go with Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor, underrated, I think. She was a very famous person and was an actor, but she's also one of the most talented actors out there. All right, one of my heroes and one of the most diverse character actors out there, John Leguizamo. He's played a clown. He's played a murderer, Benny Blanco from the Bronx. He's a theater actor. He's his show Freak and his other Latinx History for Dummies. Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter. Incredible performances in his career. Versus yours, Terry.
It's really tough. I mean, they're so different.
Absolutely.
They're so different.
The bracket bit is made to inflict maximum pain, Terry Ross.
Okay, I'm going to go with John because he's so interesting and wild and out there.
because I'm in the middle. Okay, guys, I'm not. I don't respond too much when I'm in the middle of bracket because we got to get through it. You gonna go with Leguizamo? All right, Leguizamo. All right, cool. All right. Next up, and I misspelled Anthony Hopkins' name because I'm an idiot. So, all right. Being John Malkovich, a movie about a movie inside of a movie, or the original movie star, one of the original movie stars, Paul Newman.
I just saw Cat on a Hudson Roof. I got to go with Paul.
Got to go with Scott Ruman. All right, Andy Garcia, underrated, I think, underrated. You know, Godfather 3. He's done the rom-coms. You know, you could call him like him and Denzel pretty similar in terms of body of work. I would think Denzel's done more blockbusters, obviously, but talent-wise, I put them pretty similarly. Which one's your favorite?
Okay, I'm just going to do a little aside.
Okay.
I actually danced with Andy Garcia in a film in When a Man Loves a Woman.
Really?
And he's charming, and he is a really good actor, but I got to go with Denzel.
Got to go with Denzel. All right, got you. Hey, that's a good side note. I mean, also the reason I didn't really talk about a lot of actors during our chat is because if I'm going to do the bracket bit about something, then I let it so that we can have side conversations as things come up. All right, Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know how you feel about this, but I felt that he should have won the Oscar for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because his having to act like an actor acting bad and then acting like the actor acting well.
Yeah, no, he was great.
And then also playing the actor when he's not acting. Like he played, the insecure version of himself, the guy on set who couldn't get his lines right, who was messing up, and then the guy on set who absolutely crushed his lines. It was like so many different roles for him in that movie. I think he absolutely nailed that one. But I think that Joaquin and the Joker was well done. But do you think that the Joker role for Joaquin was in my mind, don't you think that's an easier role to play? Like the Descent into Madness is a little bit easier to play than the character Leonardo played. I mean, I think so.
I mean, there's no doubt really that Joaquin was brilliant as the Joker. He was brilliant, and you felt for him, and I mean his physicality, that he could dance. I mean, everything that he did was great. But I'm going to go with body of work, and I got to go with DiCaprio. I loved him so much in Wolf of Wall Street, and then The Revenant. I mean, the stuff he's done, and I agree with you about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Joaquin tends to play kind of pretty quirky characters, right? That's kind of his niche. Mm-hmm. But DiCaprio can do anything. I mean, even from the very beginning, Gilbert Grape, my God, he was like,
oh yeah, this A Boy's Life with De Niro.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, you gotta love this guy.
All right, it's a tough matchup, but Tessa Thompson is one of the hottest actresses out right now. She was Valkyrie. She's been in a ton of other things, Thor movies, etc. Not just the Marvel universe. She's an incredible, talented actress. Creed, which is one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years. It's a tough matchup with Leo. Who do you think?
Oh, Leo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a tough one. Leo's a beast. Dustin Hoffman. Only time I ever saw my dad cry at a movie was in Kramer versus Kramer. And it was like one of those first movies about divorce. Mm-hmm. And only time I ever saw my dad cry in a movie was during that. Jean Reno, The Professional, French actor, one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite characters in films of all time. It's a tough matchup, but Dustin Hoffman or Jean Reno.
Jean Reno is good, but I mean, Dustin Hoffman, my God, Tootsie and Little Big Man and Midnight Cowboy and on and on and on, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, Dustin moves on. All right, here's another tough one. Katharine Hepburn, old school classic. Jamie Foxx, New World Oscar winner. Ray. even his voice work in the last Pixar movie, I believe, Soul, was really good. He's done everything: action, drama, very versatile.
Jamie Foxx is awesome, but I got to go with Kate.
All right, old Hollywood seems to be pulling ahead here. All right, De Niro or Forrest Whitaker? Forrest Whitaker in The Last King of Scotland, Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, etc. De Niro is De Niro, though.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker is awesome. These are so horrible.
Yeah,
like
this is
But I got I got to go with De Niro. I gotta.
Okay, all right. Jeffrey Wright, I believe, is the most underrated actor today.
Much.
Jeffrey Wright in Basquiat, one of the best performances. If I could give retro Oscars, I would go back and give Jeffrey Wright an Oscar for Basquiat. He's also a good character actor. If they need to plug him into any franchise, he makes money. Johnny Depp.
Oh, come on, Jeffrey Wright or Johnny Depp?
It's a staple. It's a staple of cinema. Those are two very well balanced actors. This is a tough first round matchup. It was hard to keep this bracket to 32 actors, Terry. So I feel your pain.
Again, they're so different. You
can use which one would you rather coach? Which one would you rather have in your movie? You can use whatever criteria you want. I create the bracket, you solve it. You are my guinea pig, the test subject.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. Johnny Depp, sorry. At least you got that Addams Family remake that's coming up, I guess, that they're going to put you in.
Yeah. Right. Johnny Depp's had some problems recently.
Yeah. All right. Ladies battle. Viola Davis, recently being recognized for her body of work and all the great roles that she's been. Salma Hayek is an OG.
She was so fabulous. Yeah. Viola Davis.
Viola Davis. Sorry, Selma.
I love you, Selma. Really, I do. I love you.
I love you, Selma. Just kidding. All right. If you haven't seen Philip Seymour Hoffman in Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, it's an underrated movie that's out there. Kind of came and went. But him, an incredible performance. One of the most talented actors in the last generation. Obviously, tragically gone too soon. Philip Seymour Hoffman or Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson's a bit of a ham, but he also has some iconic character performances that are going to live for 1,000 years in the history of cinema. But the choice is Terry Ross's, not yours, not mine.
Oh my God, Nicholson in Chinatown.
This is kind of body of work over talent and potential, I think.
It's so hard. I'm going to go with Nicholson.
Nicholson moves ahead. Daniel Kaluuya. I just watched the Judas and the Black Messiah. I mean, the guy keeps getting better. The fact that he's a British actor playing all these iconic and different sort of American characters aside. Al Pacino, I met briefly inside a store in New York City a long time ago. And I walked up to him because my sister worked at the store. She said Al Pacino's in the back, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go say hi to Al Pacino." So he turns to me, and I awkwardly tell him, because this is true, "Hey, Mr. Pacino, you and I got the same birthday." And I awkwardly reach out to try to shake his hand, and he says, "Good for you." He just kept walking. All right, so I still love you, Al Pacino. Godfather 2, probably the movies I've watched more than any other movies in my entire life, other than maybe Heat, which he's also in. But Daniel Kaluuya is an incredibly talented actor. The choice is Terry's.
I'm gonna go with Al.
Gotta go with Al. Morgan Freeman, the guy everybody wants to narrate their life, or Rosario Dawson.
This one's pretty easy. Morgan
Freeman. All right, Rosario Dawson. Christian Bale. Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Lin-Manuel Miranda. Or Meryl Streep.
Oh, come on.
Meryl Streep is the second rated. Marlon Brandon, who was the number 1 rated person here, got upset in the first round. Meryl Streep is the number 2 seed, but she gets a tough matchup against multi-talented stage and screen actor Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That is just cruel. But Meryl Streep is my very favorite actor ever. So there she goes.
All right, Meryl Streep. All right, second round moves faster than the first. Gary Oldman or Meryl Streep?
I got to do Meryl.
That's a tough one for Gary. He's one of my favorites. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Morgan Freeman or Al Pacino? These are all going to be tough from here on out.
I'm going to do Morgan.
Morgan Freeman beats Al Pacino. Jack Nicholson or Viola Davis? Viola Davis.
I'm going to go with Jack.
Robert De Niro or Jeffrey Wright?
I'm going to actually go with Jeffrey Wright.
De Niro has sort of played a character of himself lately. I mean, he also, I think him and Pacino also started to make too many movies at some point. I think do you believe that there is something to diminishing your body of work because of the roles that you pick later in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that both De Niro and Pacino started kind of playing parodies of themselves, like of old roles or something. I mean, when they were younger,
That's inevitable, though, right?
Hmm?
It's almost inevitable, right?
Yeah, and Jack Nicholson kind of did the same. I don't know,
Yeah. All right. Still, Jeffrey Wright is incredibly talented. I don't have bust you here. Too old school Hollywood here. Catherine or Dustin?
I'm going to go with Catherine.
Catherine Hepburn. I mean, you can't go wrong right there. This is kind of the battle of who's the GOAT right now, because when you talk about who's the best actor right now, these two names get thrown out probably more than any others, right? Leo DiCaprio, Denzel Washington. That's a tough second round matchup. This could be the final.
I'm going to go with Leo.
John Leguizamo, Paul Newman. Tough one for John here. Paul's a favorite.
I'm going to go with Paul.
Elizabeth Taylor or Idris Elba?
I really love Idris Elba, so I'm going to go there.
Right. Sorry, Liz. All right, we got our final 8. These are going to be even tougher. Idris Elba or Paul Newman? Cool Hand Luke. No man can eat 50 eggs.
It's so hard. It's just hard. Ugh. I'm just going to go with Idris.
Idris Elba. Moving on to the final 4. Leonardo DiCaprio played the aviator, in which he dated Katharine Hepburn in the movie.
Right.
Katharine Hepburn, underrated actor from the golden age. Choice is not mine, though. It's Terry's.
Oh, wait. Who am I? Is it Leo? Okay, I'm going to go with Leo.
Leo or Catherine? Leo moves on. All right. This is setting up a crazy final 4. Jeffrey Wright, Basquiat, Jack Nicholson, Jack Torrance.
I'm going to go with Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Wright. Morgan Freeman or Meryl Streep?
I got to do Meryl.
Meryl moves on. All right. And these are a tough final 4. In our first semifinal, we got Idris Elba versus Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sorry, Idris. I'm going to go with Leo.
Leo moves on. That's a tough one. And then we have Jeffrey Wright or Meryl Streep.
Meryl.
Jeffrey Wright, the fact that you made the final 4 is good enough for me. Leo DiCaprio. All right. We've been talking with Terry Ross as she mulls over this final decision. We'll give her a second to think about it here.
I don't need it. It's going to be Meryl.
It's going to be Meryl Streep. I was going to do a whole intro, but no, she's like, I can't go against my lady. Meryl Streep. How many Oscars has she won?
Oh, God. I don't know. She just...
More than a dozen? More or less than a dozen?
She's a genius, I mean, she's like the Mozart of acting. That's what I think.
What do you think? What is it about her?
There's something in every Meryl role that's she brings vulnerability to every role. And I even in when in Doubt and in Devil Wears Prada and stuff where she's playing hard characters, but she brings eventually I'm in doubt all the way through it. I'm like, is that vulnerability going to pop in there? Is it going to be there? And eventually it was in the very end. So I feel like she lets us in a way that maybe no other actor does. I just feel like, you know, you kind of crawl inside whatever character she's doing. And Sophie's Choice, I mean, that was the hardest scene ever in any film ever, I think. And, you know, I just can't imagine anybody else doing that. She wins for Sophie's Choice alone for me.
She gets, if there's no other performances that, is there what do you think, what do you think the biggest omission from the bracket was? Somebody that you thought I was going to mention as somebody that you feel is super talented but wasn't. Is there somebody that came to your mind?
Jessica Lange and Glenn Close for women.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the guys, I think you pretty spot on.
I put a mix in, but I tend to go through as like the ones that are most familiar, and like if somebody's like, oh, this is one, but I don't really like them. I just, you know, like I said, the bracket's mine.
You know, and then there's some young. I mean, like Rooney Mara, I think is just brilliant, and you know, can't think the woman who did Mary Poppins. I mean, there's so many young actresses right now who are really extraordinary. But one thing I just want to say about Meryl Streep, I saw a video of her working on Mother Courage, and it was just a they started with them doing the script read around the table, and it was so interesting because Meryl was like any other actor. You know what I mean? She hadn't gotten the character yet, and she was kind of reading and kind of stumbling and kind of searching, and then you saw her progression into the character. It was just transformative. I mean, she's magic. That's all I can say.
Do you think, okay, one last question for you. Do you think that somebody, because there's got to be a percentage of what makes her that's just natural ability, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that somebody without that ability can get to 70% of what she does, 50% of what she does? I mean, you have to have something in you that is that, right? It can't all be. If you could say hard work, putting in the repetitions, putting in the 10,000 hours is maybe 60 to 70% of being successful at something, there's got to be a 20-30% that's just pure natural talent, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, you know, Salieri and Mozart, you know, Salieri studied and he was brilliant, but he didn't have, you know, the spark of genius that Mozart does. And I really do believe, you know, Meryl Streep is an acting genius. I mean that. She was born with it. And you know, I see it in kids I've taught, you know, when that walk in and they just have it. They have some kind of you know, way beyond their years understanding of human nature, but they're few and far between, you know.
And then the other side of that is if you don't see it in something, is that a tough conversation to have with somebody, like where they're putting in the work, they're putting in the hours, but I mean, I don't really think that you could ever just say to somebody, listen, you should quit, because there's so many stories of people that were told that were there, but you have to be honest with students in terms of like, look, if you want to do this, I'm gonna keep helping you along the way. I'll keep, you know, doing this, but you have to understand that you have a tough road, right? Do you find yourself having those sort of difficult conversations?
I've never had that conversation with a student. And I hearken back to Hilary Swank when she was at the Oscars and accepting her award for Boys Don't Cry. She held up that Oscar and she said, "This is for the acting teacher who told me I would never make it." And we just don't know what somebody's path is. I've been so surprised by actors, Lewis, who have come in, and I've thought in my head, like, why are you taking acting? You know, but we just keep working and something blossoms out of them. So you just don't know, you know, you don't know where somebody is in their personal life in terms of what they're willing to show or share. You know, I've seen really miracles come out of people that I least expected it. So I don't, you know, I mean, I might say No, I don't really say that. So
You say it in your mind, but it seems like you've made the decision that you're going to be a teacher and you're going to help if they're seeking you out, that you're going to just keep trying to help them as much as you can, right?
yeah, I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason someone is drawn to acting. Just like you said, there's a billion people walking the street who don't want to be a filmmaker. But if you got stories in your head and you see visions and you need to, you need to put them on screen or something, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there's a reason people want to take an acting class. Some people just want to get out of their shell, or feel more confident in public speaking or do something different, or they're in a really left brain job and they want some right brain activity. So people come at it for a whole variety of reasons. But I've been really surprised and amazed and impressed with where some students have just kind of blossomed into really strong actors.
Well, one of my friends, Kenny, posted something, I guess, early pandemic, which said that everybody should at some point take an acting or a drama or a theater class because it allows you to put yourself in other people's shoes. It allows you to sort of get, really be more empathic with.
Yep.
Obviously, that's why a lot of actors are empaths, because they can put themselves in different situations. It forces you to think differently. So I think it's a great idea for somebody who just wants to grow as a person to take a cooking class, to take an acting class and stuff like that. The reason that I talk about the San Diego film community is I feel sometimes that since it's a tight knit community, it almost becomes too tight, like where it breeds unprofessionalism a little bit. And I think that there's different types of people that are doing it for different types. There's the ones that just want to be part of a club, and they're like, hey, this is our little film society, and we make little movies together and stuff like that. There's the people that might just be bored, and they have a partner or somebody, or they don't have to worry about making money or something, so they're like, hey, I'm gonna try to act, I'm gonna try to make movies. And then there's the lifers, the people that are really dedicated to the craft, to the profession, to improvement. And these are the people that I think, I always tell people that actors, when I talk to them, that the people who fail at actors are the ones that quit acting, because like you said, you never know where your growth as an actor is going to tell you, and you never know when you're going to be the right age, the right look for the parts that are out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it really depends, why somebody's doing it, right? If they really want to make it, I'm always wary of those people, because it's not glamorous,
No.
it's not glamorous, and that's not what it's about. It's about loving the work and loving the exploration and looking for truth and character and all of that, right? And hard work and dedication to the craft. So,
Well, Terry, we've done 2 hours and 17 minutes, and I
dang,
appreciate.
we've been talking.
And yeah, I know. I'm a bit, I was long-winded, but I appreciate I appreciate that you came on. Tell us where people can go find you. Obviously, look up the San Diego Movie Awards. We have the website on the screen, actingprofessionally.com. Where can they follow you so that they're aware of what's coming up with you, and where they can be part of these retreats, etc.?
Sure. Well, actually, there's on actingprofessionally.com, there's a link right to the retreats, and it gives you all the information about our past retreat and upcoming retreats. We have FAR Film Acting Retreats on Facebook. Castle on Umbria is on Facebook and on Instagram. Acting Professionally is on Instagram, and San Diego Movie Awards is on Instagram and Facebook. So we're in about as many places as you could possibly want.
All right. Well, excellent then. I want to thank everybody for coming on, especially Terry. And like I said, the San Diego Movie Awards quarterly festival with yearly awards. You can get up to $2,500 if you have a feature, or $1,500 for a short. We talked about the judging process. All your films will be watched in full. And we're going to see whether the quarterly thing is too much for you guys, or if you guys can handle it. And like I said, I will be submitting some of my films. I appreciate that. So thank you very much for tuning in today, everybody. I want to remind you guys to like us and follow us on Facebook.com/Burrito, Twitch.tv. Basically, just find, if you want to know more about me, my products, my projects, just look for Tui and Burrito literally anywhere. And our podcast will be on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes within the week with Terry. I'll let everybody know. But thank you for tuning in. This has been Big Chief Burrito, Lou Martinez with Terry Ross, and we are out.
Peace out. Thank you.